Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 45th episode. No, that is not how the intro works. Wow, a week off has really screwed this up. We can restart that. That's okay. It's fine. It's been a week. Just got to get refreshed. I literally have already been late anyway, so it's fine. We're fine. This is only for future YouTube editing anyway. Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're live. That's what happens when we're live. There we go. Everything's good there. Gotcha. Let's try that intro one more time. Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 45th live stream from the Misfit Gamer Studios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. On today's homebrew, Kage has brought us an item from TikTok that we're going to go through, so it should be pretty quick. And we're going to help follower Cosmic with a character build for one of his upcoming sessions. He's not quite sure which direction he wants to go on it, so we're going to have a little bit of a discussion on maybe what we would do with our character builds, and hopefully give him some ideas to move forward. So we'll get Kage in here, and we will start today's episode properly. All right, let's go to that. How you doing? Welcome back after a week off. How was the holiday?
Listen, this is how we do it around here. All right, we make it work with what we got. All right, and we were killing it in the game. Yeah, I had a good time. Holidays, I ate way too much of everything, but well worth it, man. It's a good deal.
Yeah, hey Cosmic, nice to see you again. Welcome back into the chat. It's been a while. Hope your holiday was fantastic. I had a lot of traveling to do. Had to travel out of state and drive. That wasn't fun. It was fun to see family, but just the traveling this time of year isn't great. And had some house stuff recently happen. So we've had a bunch of people come work on our house over this last weekend because we had, I don't want to call it emergency services or anything like that, but we definitely had some definite instantaneous maintenance needed. I guess emergency maintenance you can call it.
Required, exactly.
Yeah, maintenance was required, and we got some people out here to fix it. Everything's good. But yeah, otherwise, I had a very relaxing holiday. I took some time off, so I've had quite a bit of time to relax. Taking time off the stream was kind of nice last week. I missed it. Like, not saying that I want to.
I did miss my home brews.
Yeah, yeah. It's not, it's like, it was nice to take the week. It was nice to be able to do that. And we're not so big that it's that disruptive to like the brand or anything, but I missed it. And it's like, yeah, once in a while, that's nice. But I'm ready to be back into the flow.
We're back in it.
Get back into it.
And it's nice that we can still connect with everybody in the Discord.
Yes, like I just want to say to anybody watching right now, or in the future, if you are part of the Discord, thank you guys so much. The Discord has been fantastic. We're super small right now. I know that, but just even just over the last day or two, just the buzz of activity, the talks that have been going on, Murder Rose bringing in a new concept that they want to talk about, not on stream, but just want to openly discuss in the Discord, which is great. So hey, if you want to join that conversation, come into the Discord. If you're in Twitch chat, you'll be able to get a link now. If you're on YouTube, I'll probably have it in the description. I should probably start doing that, huh? Probably start putting maybe we'll talk about that offline. We'll figure out if having an open link like that is really what we want. But
that's fair,
because bot scrapers and everything could probably easily pick that up. But if you're on YouTube and you can see it in the chat, you can go ahead and check out our Discord, where you can submit homebrew items that we will review on Mondays. You can just ask us questions that we'll answer on stream, or if you just want us to answer them personally through the Discord, we can do that as well. And then you can just talk to all the other followers and all the other viewers about things we talked about on the stream, or just collaborate amongst yourselves about gaming ideas, homebrew builds, rule sets, rulings. All that kind of stuff. So, join us in Discord. We would love to have you. We're trying to build that community so we can have this stream a lot more about engaging with the viewers and less about just us sitting here talking, because I gotta say, so far, my favorite episodes have been the ones where I'm engaging more with the viewers in chat and getting more of that back and forth instead of us just kind of ranting on one topic. Excuse me. It's been a minute. My my throat's not used to talking so much.
Right?
And it's only been like 10 minutes. Or like 5 minutes, sorry. Okay.
But
so.
I am excited. I'm weirdly excited about this submission. I submitted this today, and it's not even my item. I saw it on a TikTok, and the whole concept behind it was just so cool. I really wanted to bring it. So I'm kind of weird, like, again, very weirdly excited for this, but I'm here for it. Whatever, it's fine.
I'm excited too. So we're going to get right into this one. We are going to go ahead and just open this one right up. This one shouldn't take us too long. It's not that big. Like always, I have not seen this one myself yet, so it's going to be a blind read for me. Kage obviously knows a little bit more about it, so we are going to hopefully...
And to be fair, everyone, this is my best job at writing down what I believe the author intended based upon this, I don't know, minute and a half TikTok video that I saw.
Right,
So,
and yeah, you're going off of audio and you're transcribing that into what you think would be the actual build. So we
Yes.
will keep that in mind. We will have to keep that in mind. Excuse me. Wow. It is one of those days. Okay, we need... What do I need? What am I looking for, yo? Oh, it's because I'm on the wrong... There we are. There's you and me.
doop, doop.
And I need... There it is. There it is. Boom! There it is.
Perfection.
Okay, now. So,
There it
we... There we go. That looks about good, I think, for stream. Hopefully y'all can read that on stream.
Oh, that looks pretty good.
All right, fantastic. So let's get into this. We have the Rings of the Dueling Dragons. I already like the name. Again, I always like names that inspire. It doesn't have to be, like a descriptive name, but just rings that inspire creativity and your
Imagination.
Thank you. There you go. And that's just, growing up on things like with Bruce Lee and everything, like Rings of the Dueling Dragons is like, from my era growing up, that's just that excites the 90s kid in me. You know what I mean? Like that excites like the 4th, 5th grader in me. It's like Dueling Dragons.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like Ring of the Dueling Dragons. It's like, it's mysterious, it's ominous, it's powerful, it's all telling, and yet it gives you nothing. You know what I mean? Like there's just something about a name, and some names are just sit well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I always love a good name. I always love a good name.
I'm here for it. Exactly.
So, and this is by what was the author's name from
His
TikTok?
name is Encounter Smith.
Encounter Smith.
Encounter
Oh,
Smith.
right. I like that name actually too.
Right?
Is that what his TikTok's all about? Is like building encounters and stuff?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I like that actually. Encounter Smith. Well, if Encounter Smith, if you ever catch us on YouTube, thanks for making this. This is going to be a cool idea.
Very much so.
And we'd definitely like to know if you ever find your way to this episode. Let us know what you thought about our design and if we got it right, because that's the biggest thing is if we
Right.
got what you decided right. I'm still a little bit like I would like to think that what we do with Homebrew Review, I would really like to think that it is, if we were to watch that and talk about it the way that we normally do, I would like to believe that that would be transformative in some way because of the way that we talk about the item, break it apart, and expand upon the idea. But with a lot of the controversy and just a lot of the general nature of review content out there, I'm happy to review things that have been written and that have been submitted, but I'm always very hesitant on like watching something, especially like a YouTube or a TikTok. It's just, there's that fine line of what type of like,
I see what you're saying.
like content creator we want to be. And as much as I believe we could be transformative enough with it, I like the fact that you were able to write this out because it feels less, it feels more like we are discussing the idea and not discussing the content.
Very much so. It feels more directed towards the mechanics rather than anything else.
Yeah, because I never want to bridge that idea of, especially because like TikToks, like you said, that was like a minute long. So it's like, it would be really, again, that ethics question of if you see the TikTok here, even if we discuss it at length, there's no reason for you to go see that TikTok from him. So I would much rather say go seek out Encounter Smith. Go look for that TikTok, even if we have the link for it, I think, in our Discord. Go seek out and look for the TikTok. But I think just as a premise to why we're going to add it this way, we feel more comfortable with this. I feel more comfortable discussing the idea, but not providing the content because that's his content. And I'd much rather you go seek it out if you want to see how he presented it. But again, if you see it here, why would you go seek it there? I don't find that ethical, right? Like it's that whole,
I get that.
you know, that review content issue that goes on in Twitch. And I really want to make sure that early on we separate ourselves. Like there's a lot of D&D content out there I would love to rate and review and discuss, but I'd be much more comfortable taking a small clip about like how someone discussed or said or described something and breaking that apart versus the unfortunate aspect of TikTok is by nature it's hard to clip that. It's pretty much in itself a clip.
Yes.
And by using that clip, you use it in its entirety. It's one thing to use a clip of somebody else's content for reference, but that's where it draws that very fine line of to use that reference, we'd basically have to use the entire thing. And I don't know. I'm not there yet.
I feel you on that.
All right, Cosmic is back. I've been having Wi-Fi issues all day. Really sucks doing their job. Shaw, I'm assuming that's your internet provider. I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know if I know a Shaw internet provider. But welcome back. So we are just going to get into this. So this shouldn't take us very long. It's a pretty quick one, and then we'll be able to get into your character build. I haven't read everything that you posted, but I am going to read all of that here so we can kind of get prepped for the discussion. And then we'll see what we can do about a character build. Might pull up... just for referencing, I might pull up like D&D Beyond or something, or a character builder, so we can kind of just get a visual representation of some of the options, and then discuss like either homebrewing around it or like additional features outside of the standard. So I think that'll be a good way to do that. So yeah, we'll get into this. And remember, I'm Canadian, so we have things that Americans don't. Oh yeah, you are in Canada. Okay. Well, you know the thing, you know. Even true, you could be from another state and you still would have here. Like, I mean, even up here, different counties around, like even in our state of California, different areas will have different companies that kind of own that area. Yeah. That you can only get internet access from them. So it's like you literally could have been 20 miles up the road, and that could have been an internet provider for all. You know what I mean? Like that could legit be an internet provider from here. Fair. But no, but fair point. I did forget that you know that you're from Canada, so that's it is kind of cool to know that though. Like,
right?
Appreciate the reminder. What we call states, you call provinces. Yeah. I always, and then, just always like how people or how different cultures have separated, like, their geography. We have states, there's provinces, there's prefectures.
That's very fair.
It's always nice to, to just really break down. It's not the same because they all function much, much differently. Yes. But the idea behind breaking down those structures into, different phases is just interesting to see how everyone goes about doing it.
I like it.
Good way to good thought process also to approach D&D too. If you want to have more fun, like if you want to have a bigger build in your world, and say you want to do like two different like warring nations, or if you want to do like different kingdoms, one thing I like to do that I add into High Point is taking the real world differences and making those the spiciness between the two nations, the two like kingdoms, right? So it's like you could have, rough peace, but if you want to say, well, why do they like have an issue, right? You can be cliche and be like, it's like, oh, well, they have different gods, but you could make it more interesting where it's like, oh, well, only one of them has a certain resource, and because they control that resource, basically, like everyone has, heated moments, or, there's a lot of things that you can do. And if you want to make one kingdom or one town feel like the next, you can do things like that. Slightly change how things are structured. And it will feel, much more unique while still feeling like they're not relearning everything.
Right.
So yeah, good point for that. And I appreciate you bringing that up because I always forget I never think about it, right? Like you just, it's like the online world is its own place, and I forget.
It's so crazy. It's its own landscape.
Yeah, it's like when I'm
geography there, but internet geography.
Yeah, I when I'm online, when I'm like watching other YouTubers or
Yep.
streamers or everything, I completely like when they bring up where they're at, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's right. Like you aren't near me, and it's not like I think everyone's American. It's just more of that whole thing of I don't think of the geography when it's on the online landscape. It's just more of a
We're all in the same squad, man.
Yeah,
We're
it's just
all in
that's
the same
crazy.
squad.
One thing about the character concept for his Ranger Warlock, so I think it is a dual class, is that part of the Patron Pact is something that you want to take the form of the weapons as a 5th level. Their proficiency is +3, and they have 3 cursed arrows each day as part of the Warlock Pact.
That you can. There's a version of the Pact. So when you take a Warlock, you can do Pact of the Chain, which is you get a familiar, Pact of the Tome, which is you get a spell book, or Pact of the Blade, which is you get a manifested weapon that you
Gotcha.
get. And I think that might be the one that he's referring to.
Gotcha. Okay, so make it as part of the weapon. Interesting. Okay, so once we get through this one, we'll tie that into what we have on Discord, and then we'll be able to break that out. So, rings of the Dueling Dragons. We have a pair of rings. So there are 2 rings in the set.
Yes.
They are very rare. And
That's conjecture. I don't know if they're actually very rare.
okay, so it could be legendary. Could be beyond,
Yes.
but we're gonna at least say very rare. You've never played a Warlock before. Yeah, the Warlocks have gone through so much, and the pacts.
Yes.
The pacts have gotten so convoluted that it's a thing. It's a whole thing.
Which is
It's a whole thing.
It really is.
All right. So the description. So spellcaster feature. When the spellcast. Okay. Hold on. So it does require attunement.
So yes, it requires attunement, but here's
Okay. Let me just read it. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting ahead of myself. Okay. So there's a spellcaster feature. So when the spellcaster attuned to the item.
So before you do that, how about just because it's important to know that last part where it says attunement requirements. If we go over that,
Okay. Let's go down
the rest of it make more sense. I feel like.
Okay. So
And it's
So we got these got the pair. So attunement requirements. Okay. So we have a pair of rings. They do require attunement. So these rings cannot be attuned to the same person. So you have to have 2 individuals, which makes sense.
Yes.
I like how you have implied, but still has to be, conjectured. 1 ring must be attuned to 1 with access to spell slots. 1 ring must be attuned to 1 with no access. Ooh, okay.
Yes.
So 1 person with a spell slot, 1 person that has no access to magic. I like it already.
Yes.
I like it already. Okay, so
that's the base premise.
So the description is for the spellcaster. So for the spellcaster of the pair that has attuned, whenever they cast a spell of 1st level or higher, so no cantrips, the non-caster, so their pair, their non-magical counterpart, deals additional damage on all weapon attacks. The damage dealt is equal to the spell's level and is the damage type of the resistance the ring currently provides to the non-caster attuned. This effect will remain active on the non-caster until the end of the spellcaster's next turn, or the spellcaster casts another spell. So the non-caster, when the non-magical user, while affected by the while affected by the other's feature, they can use their reaction to end the feature's effect on themselves and convert the additional damage amount into additional AC for the spellcaster instead. This transfer of effect does not affect the feature's duration. So, okay, let me keep going. So resistances. 1 ring gives resistance to cold damage. 1 ring gives resistance to fire damage. Resistance swap. As a bonus action, as long as the other ring bearer is in sight, they can swap resistances. Okay, I like that. Okay, so 1 for fire, 1 for cold. So fire and cold, they can swap as a bonus action as long as they can see each other. Gotcha. Okay, so let me reread up here now that I understand the resistances. So when the spellcaster casts a spell, he imbues the non-caster with the ability to deal additional damage on all weapon attacks. the damage dealt is equal to the spell level and is the damage type of whatever the non-caster's ring is currently providing. So if he has the fire ring, he's now doing fire damage. If they swap and he has the cold ring, he's now doing cold damage. So basically, every time the spellcaster casts a spell... Okay, here's how I'm reading this. So when you have a spellcaster and a non-spellcaster, both attuned to these pairs. When the spellcaster casts a spell, he essentially empowers the non-caster's ring to help deal additional damage, with their weapon. But the non-caster has the option to instead end the effect on themselves and convert the additional damage amount into additional AC. So the additional damage amount is equal to the spell's level. So if the caster casts a spell, you can either add, they have choices basically. Okay. Interesting. So
You got it spot on.
Yeah,
so
I'm just trying. No, I understand. I'm just trying to see if there's an easier way to boil this down. But basically, you have a caster and a non-caster who have to attune each. One ring will provide fire, the other provides cold resistance, and they can swap as a bonus action. Other than that, nothing ever happens until the spellcaster casts a spell. When they do, the level of their spell, whatever spell level, that number gets transferred into the non-caster's ring as additional damage of their current resistance type. And at any point under that effect, the non-caster can choose to send that additional damage back to the caster as additional AC for the same duration.
Yes. Now, the duration is until the end of the spellcaster's next turn.
Yeah. Or cast another spell.
Or cast another spell to keep it going.
It's the same duration either way. But basically, anytime the spellcaster casts a spell, he's giving the non-caster extra damage. And if the non-caster has the choice to convert that damage into AC for instead.
So they're using their reaction. So they can specifically do it like, say if I see the spellcaster, they're about to get hit by the berserker or something like that, but they just barely hit them. I can shoot this energy back their way to give them an AC boost until the end of their next turn. And then they can potentially survive that hit. Or maybe make it a glancing blow so they take half damage, or something to that effect, so that it's not nearly as detrimental to the spellcaster, because they're likely going to need to be protected more, and the other one's going to want to do more damage. Mm-hmm. So the mindset is that these rings are meant to like boost the other person, but you have to be in tune with what the other person needs at what time to make sure that. Because if the spellcaster goes down, your ring's no good anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let me think. I like the idea. I'm just it's unfortunate because it's a good idea, but it's convoluted, and it's just because of the way that it works. Right. Like it's not a bad idea. It's just it's hard to wrap the head around. So let's see here. So I love the attunement requirements. I love that it has a caster and a non-caster. Immediately love that. I like that it has the damage resistances. That's kind of cool, and you can swap the damage. That's kind of cool.
Right.
I don't mind that. So cast a spell. The level of the spell becomes extra damage for the other, and then can be sent back as AC.
Now, granted, level 1 might not help out a whole lot with AC. So I might not be using my reaction on a level 1 spell, but if somebody casts a level 6 spell...
I got it. I think I know how I would tweak this. There's two ways I would tweak this.
Okay.
There's an easy way and a much more complicated way.
Okay, bet. I'm here for it.
So the easy way, because I really don't dislike what is going on here. I really don't have a lot of negativity to say. So it's pretty high. It's hovering around 7 right now. Easy. But I would not accept it as is. Don't
Okay.
need it, so it's losing a point for me not needing anything
sure.
like this, and it's losing a point because I wouldn't accept it as is. And then it might go to an 8 though, because it is inspiring. It is a cool idea, and it wouldn't take a lot of tweaks. I just don't really have a purpose for it and all of that. So it might get an 8. It's a 7 or an 8. I'm not really sure. But here's my tweaks. The easy tweak.
Okay.
Everything worked as is, except change the resistance swap, change that to the reaction, and change and link that to the swapping of the powers. So easy ways: spellcaster casts a level 2 spell, non-caster now has a +2 damage. As a reaction, they swap the ring's resistances, but the charge goes with it. So you just link it all
person
together.
gets the AC.
So yeah, so like basically when spellcaster casts a level 2 spell, non-caster with fire resistance now has a +2 fire damage. As a reaction, they can give the
So they
spellcaster
have to,
both the fire and the +2 to their AC. So basically, tie everything to the swapping of the powers.
So they would have to swap the resistances in between casting a spell in order in order to get the weapon damage to be of a different type.
Yes. So again, even more tacticalness. So if you know you're wearing the fire one and I'm wearing the cold one and I'm about to cast a spell because I'm the spellcaster, we need to remember, but you need to do cold damage. So we need to switch, because in case you need to give it back to me, you're going to, you know what I mean? So it's like we switch, then I cast my level 2 spell. So now you have the +2 to your damage with cold damage. But let's say you want to give me that AC. You have to also give up your cold resistance. Now you'll have fire resistance. That makes sense? Like,
But then your damage will go with it too.
Yeah. So it works exactly the same. All I'm saying is link the I now have a bonus damage, now you have AC. Link that to also the resistances swap.
Interesting.
So the idea is it's just more tied in. It's all more tactical. So again, it happens the same way. I cast a spell, you're gonna get a boost to your attack with whatever current resistance ring you have. But if you want to send that to me and give me the AC boost, you also are gonna give up your resistance.
Yeah.
You're gonna swap the resistance. So that's just one option. I like that a little bit more than having these as two different swaps. Because again, normally, without the spell being cast, you're still just swapping normally.
Right.
But I like the idea that during that swap is when the boost to AC or damage happens.
Interesting.
But the more complicated version of this, I like the idea, and even if you wanted to set it to a cap of, like, let's say 9, and 9 makes sense because you can have a level 9 spell.
Okay.
But let's say we cap it level 9. Spellcaster feature. Whenever the spellcaster casts a spell, a charge of the spell's level, equal to the spell's level, is added to their current ring.
Okay.
Up to 9, which means, you know, a 9th level spell or any combination, but 9 charges. You know, make it fair and balanced. But it makes sense that only you can have one spell that fully charges it, but you can't just do like level 9, level 7, level 6, and then be unstoppable. But so up to 9 charges. And then you still have the bonus action to swap the resistances freely. But basically, as a spellcaster is charging their ring, they never get to use the charges. It's kind of like either next time they swap resistances, or on a different trigger, he can send all of the currently charged amounts to the fighter. They get the same weapon boost. And then the same thing, he can trigger it back to his AC. But the idea is, instead of it being like at the time of the casting, it could be I'm just going to charge it up. So I can cast a level 1, a level 2, and a level 1, and now I have 4. And now I can send you 4 damage. Or you can resend me 4 AC.
Oh, interesting.
So being able to rack it
Up to a maximum
of
of
9,
9.
which means one. So technically, at one point, one spell could fully charge the ring. That's why I cap it at 9 instead of capping it at like 10 or something. You cap it at the progression of the spells.
Right.
So you could cast 2 level 5 spells and have full 9 charge.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have 9, but you get the full 9 charge. And again, tying it into when the resistance swaps. Here's the other thing: making it more tactical. Instead of, you could just swap it at the regular. But let's say let's say the magic caster's like, wait until I have a 5 charge so you can do hella damage. But let's say you're like in a pinch and you're like, I got to get the resistance, bro. And you use your bonus action to take the resistance swap because you can see him. But if he only has 2 charges, you suck the 2 charges away. So if he was like trying to like, charge it up to a certain amount, but the encounter went south, since you both have access to it, right? That's why I was thinking of forcing it into the swap when you swap resistances. Just because that way it's a little more tactical. Each player has to be much more mindful about when to do it.
Interesting.
I think that's what I would do, though, just for more of the, not as a normal item, because like in High Point, this would probably be it's like an only item kind of thing.
Right.
So I think that's why I probably would go that extra step of adding the complexity of the AC and damage swap happens with the elemental swap. I like the more challenging aspect of it, but that's only to get it to High Point. As is, I actually really like it. Like, I think that this could be dropped in almost any gaming session that has a good spread of a party, and this could be hella tactical. I think at early levels, I think it's great as is because you're not going to be able to send a bunch of, extra damage their way really early on. And vice versa. They can't send you a bunch of AC. But earlier on in the game, I think this is way more beneficial to the spellcaster early game, way more beneficial to the attacker end game. Because when you're looking at giving someone +3 damage, now because it's +3 damage, not to attack. So they don't get any better. They don't get any better aiming, which that could be also a thing. It could be to attack or to like. There's other options there. But early in the game, what's more important? 2 extra damage or 2 extra AC? What would you rather take? 2 damage per successful hit or 2 more AC?
Yeah.
Early in the game, a level 3 spell could change the tide for a wizard if they get an instant +3. But a fighter, getting an extra +3 damage, that's barely a D4. It's nice, but like it's not battle changing. But later in the game, when you're throwing around a level 7 spell, that extra 7 damage on top of a crit could be a killing blow. But at the same time, 7 extra AC, way more important, right? So that's where I think it's like it's a cool idea, but it almost favors the spellcaster a little bit too much, which is why I think it could be beneficial if they could rack it up, because then giving it to the attacker as damage, I think could be more beneficial, especially in the early game, because they could sit there and cast out all of their spells, and then their last spell is to imbue the fighter with more damage.
Interesting.
Because you could tactically use out all your spells at that point. Because early in the game, you pretty much are always going to use out all your spells, right? In most encounters, you're going to have, a level 2 and 2 level 1s? You're probably going to go through them all. So instead of only being able to do a 1-time +2 to your attack, and then 2 more times to get you a +1, giving you a +4, I think, would be more strategic later in the battle. It doesn't technically do much difference because it's all still the same amount of damage you're adding. Right. But I don't know. I kind of think that I would like to play with a charge it up as you go, and then when you swap, that's when it happens. But I don't find any fault in it. I like as I said, this is just for what I would do to get it into High Point to make it make sense for me. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's such a good item. Like, if this is what they intended, well done. I
really hope this is what they intended. I'm gonna be really honest. Like, I love for the most part, it is as it is. I mean, there might be a couple of things that I would do a little bit differently. I do kind of like the idea of charging it up.
I got a different one for you.
It's
I got a different one for you.
It's very cool.
What about this? What about the type of spell change the outcome? So like, it's the number of the spell, like equivalent number, but like let's say it's an attack spell, like it requires an attack roll. That would give you a +2 to your damage. But let's say it's a debuff or a buff spell. Maybe instead it gives you a +2 to your AC. Or if it's a different type of spell, maybe it gives you a +2 to hit.
Right.
Not damage, but to hit.
Interesting.
So what if you broke it down like that? So depending on what the caster cast, it's a different buff. If you don't like the charge up, what if it's attack spells will give you damage, this type of spell will give you AC, this type of spell will give you a chance to hit, this type of spell will give you an extra bonus action, like just anything, like, you know what I mean, like this spell will make you faster, it will give you extra movement. But if you could categorize the type of spell from the spellcaster and allow different types of boosts, you could make it even more tactical.
I do think that is a
because when you go back to what you were saying with reactions in combat, imagine that. Imagine not only knowing that the level of spell matters, like upcasting, it's going to matter how much, you know, whatever you give to the person, but also when and what spell you cast, not just for the battle, but for this power. You know what I mean? So the type of spell you cast may also change during battle to help your buddies or retrospectively help you. Because again, what if it's like every time it passes, it opposites, right? So if I do an attack spell, I give you damage, but you'll give me AC. If I do a defense spell, I'll give you AC, but you give me damage. If I do this spell, you get to a better, more to hit, but I get an advantage. You know what I mean? Like there's just some way where we always get like the opposite when you pass it back.
Right.
Kind of like this, right? Kind of like how it is. Just whatever I give, I'm going to get the opposite. So tactically, we really have to pay attention. And that might be more difficult. That might be making it more complicated than most D&D sessions and most gamers want to like get into, to be honest. But that's what makes, for me, that's the kind of what I like to do to spice up gameplay is I don't want to just have it, again, I don't want to just press X. You know what I mean? I don't want that. I want the idea of a game to be able to evolve. Right. And I like, this is such a good thing. Like I think I'm going to lean towards an 8 just because, again, I didn't realize how inspiring it would be. I don't want this exact item, but there's nothing wrong with it.
But like for me, because the premise of the video in the first place was linked items. Yeah. And items specifically that and I think in the mindset that they were having is like to promote cooperative gameplay, right? So that like, hey, let's work with this other person. Like imagine like two people that don't like each other got attuned to these two rings. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, they're gonna not give them the AC when they really need it, or they're gonna not give them the extra damage when they could actually look like the hero, or whatever the case may be. You know, like stuff like that, and then they learn like, oh my gosh, like it could save my life, and they learn and grow with it, or whatever the case may be. But like, just the idea of like taking items,
okay, these are definitely getting an 8
that are like linked together, that like you now have like role play opportunities with whoever the other person is.
These are definitely getting an 8 now officially, because now they're making me think. So imagine, so we've talked before about like the kind of cliche, we're gonna set y'all in a dungeon, in a jail cell, and all of that.
Right.
Imagine a dungeon that's specifically designed to play to like the worst aspects of the prisoners, right? So they use things like, you know, like the old school ball and chain. You have the same anklet, right? You have the same anklet chain, but it's not tied to a chain and like a giant ball or tied to the wall. It's just a thing. Maybe it has like 3 chains off of it, like 3 links, and then it disappears. But that link, this like ankle chain, is linked to another prisoner. But the prison is smart, and it strategically links people who are at odds. So you put your players in here, and you like, maybe if you're having like, you could do this as a joke, like if your players are having issues cooperating, or the characters are having issues cooperating, or Or if you want like this cool, like you have to work with your nemesis, like you have to work with the big BBEG in order to escape, but you put them in this jail cell and you link them either with the other player that they're having a problem with, the character that they're having a problem with, the BBEG, and the whole point is just like these rings, like you were saying, right? You want to have to force working together. So imagine you get a campaign, like an escape room level campaign, where you have to do the opposite of what you want, right? So you're linked to this other person, so you have to do something that's basically for their benefit and vice versa.
Right.
I don't know exactly how, because we're talking about, like you were saying, like you have to give AC, but maybe it's like, maybe you have like these chains you can give, like technically you can voluntarily give stats. It is permanent, but it's voluntary.
So they could give it back.
So it's like, dude, I could pick this lock if I was like, I have a lock pick and a lock on my side of the gate, but I'm not smart enough to pick it. Your gate over there looks really rickety and looks like you could lift it up and out, but you don't have enough strength. We hate each other. You've always been smarter than me, and I've always been stronger than you. So imagine the get out of here. I have to permanently give up my strength, and you have to permanently give up your wisdom or your intelligence for both of us to escape, and we don't have to give it back. So not only is this a fascinating concept for your players to go through, because they could permanently change their characters, but imagine having to make a deal with someone you don't trust to permanently give up something in hopes that they'll give it back voluntarily.
That's crazy.
I'm loving this idea of I'm loving this prison idea, because it would just be, it would be so fast. Like, I like it more if you had like inner issues within the party. It would be so much more fun. It would be more of like a game building or a team building. But just imagine like being in this jail cell and you're just like, and again, like people don't know what to do until you start hearing the people argue with each other, and then they build the idea that everyone's here literally because they can't trust or work with each other. Like literally, it's a prison built directly out of the hatred.
There was just like a dude that like he built that prison, and then he just like in certain instances, like when people are having like extreme difficulties, you know, he appears and that gives them an opportunity to like something, and either if they fail or if there's some trial they have to go through, he specifically sends them to this place, and it's like boom. Some people literally never get out, and they're just sitting there.
And just imagine like everybody can see a door that's open, unlocked, and it's the exit door.
I even kind of like the idea that you're almost, and see, I don't know how I feel about it, but I kind of like it. You're immortal here. Like time doesn't move for you, so you could potentially wander here for like all eternity. If you never get out,
it's just like a purgatory, and you don't know about it. You don't know how long you've been here. It's not like, oh, I've been here forever. It's just like an eerie, like whatever universe. But all that are here on their own volition. They're here because they cannot trust each other. Like again, just imagine a prison designed to pull out the worst out of them, right? Like so two rivals just would never work together, so they're stuck here forever because they refuse to just work even if they could kill, even if they know they have the chance to kill each other the moment they get out, the idea to work together makes them trapped. Cosmic says, is there info on if Low Sulfur will come back? It has been a couple months. I don't know. Has a lot going on in life, as we all do.
That's true.
And yeah, we're still working on the future. We have a couple updates that will be coming, a couple major updates that will be happening to the stream.
Yes.
But yeah, in terms of when we have special guests, we don't really have a schedule, and we don't really have a set episode list yet of when we're going to be scheduling people to come in. So it's going to just kind of be random. I would just say that for right now, it's probably not going to be anytime soon, at least probably for this year. But once we get a couple good topic ideas on the books, and we kind of know who we want to bring in, kind of more like I don't want to say specialists, but you know, like people that can like bring in a different viewpoint, is kind of when we want to lean in on the special guests, is when we feel like people have a really good insight that we want to grab in. But yeah, otherwise we're still just trying to flesh out, like, you know, our pace and what we're doing. So we don't really have much of a schedule for when anybody else will be joining just yet. But yeah, we will let him know if he's not already here in the background. We will let him know that you're interested in seeing him again. And he always is in Discord. So if you do have any questions for him, you can always hit him up in the Discord as well. So don't forget that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I'm going to give this thing a solid 8 out of 10. I don't need it. It would need some change to come into high point, but it's inspiring and it's a good item. It doesn't need any change as a D&D item. I would like to see it be something a little bit more before I would use it.
For sure.
But otherwise, I think it solves a problem, and I think it... I think that from both a DM and a player standpoint, it could be a lot of fun. It can solve some problems, or it can just create a new dynamic. It could be purely tactical.
Yes.
It could be just implemented as purely tactical, or it could, solve an issue with people like having, to deal with each other. Like, it kind of reminds me, almost reminiscent of the item that I had brought a couple, like a month or so ago, the Rings of Solidarity. I don't think it was the episode you weren't here for, but I think you watched it. But it was the rings where when you put them on, you actually have, like, it was kind of almost what I said here, but you have a permanent stat shift with the other person. I could have sworn
with, like, how many people are there multiple people attuned to the rings, or do
you there's just 2 rings. So it was the story behind it was basically, Dark Evil Wizard created them, gave them to his sons in order to improve their bond. Made one super intelligent, one super strong, but the whole deal is what it does. The main premise is you basically, both players who, once they put the rings on and attune, both players gain 10 permanent hit points, and then their hit points are now locked in a life pool. So they now share hit points.
I do remember talking about this.
Yeah, so they basically, they both get a plus 10, and then they share hit points. So they both level up normal, but every time they both get hit points and they level up, it goes into the pool.
Yeah.
And then the idea for the brothers was supposed to be the exaggerated version, but essentially the idea is that you would each player basically gives up like permanently 3 stat points, so you roll for which ones you throw over.
Get swapped.
And then you just permanently swap the stat points, but then now you have the life pool that you go off of. So the idea of the Rings of Solidarity, bringing 2 people together, one person's a lot harder to kill. So that's why with the brothers it was good, because one's the fighter, and so it's just super hard to kill him because he has so much health. So the other one just stays back and is the brains of the operation, because for them that's the main 2 stats that got swapped. But for characters it could be like charisma and intelligence or something, right? So it's 2 different stats will get like a full. I think it was like 2 stats get 3-point swaps. So each player rolls what stat they're going to lose from and gives the other player 3 points in that stat.
Yeah. I think I remember that.
So yeah, it was kind of a similar idea, but I love the idea of linked items as well. Like another idea I had many, many years ago. I just never really fleshed out like exactly how I wanted it, but linked bags would be fucking dope.
Oh, yeah.
Like kind of like bags of holding, but more limited, but you could have 2 of them. So I put an item in my bag and you can pull it out.
And I've actually seen message notebooks where there are these 2 notebooks that are connected. So I can write in one and then it shows up in somebody else's.
Yep. That's fucking huge too. Like, linked items are huge. Yeah. So let's give that, put that on the list as an 8 out of 10 high points. This is definitely a great item.
Cool,
I like this.
Cool.
Thank you for bringing that.
Well, Encounter Smith, I appreciate you creating this item. It was very, very awesome to review.
Yeah, hope you get to see it, and I hope you approve of what we've said here today. Let's go.
And now
we get to go into community chat, because now, Cosmic, you have some questions for us. So let's get into this real quick. Let's look at the premise. So we have a character creation from Cosmic. He is looking to make a Ranger Warlock, but we haven't really decided on all of the other aspects just yet. So far, this is what we have in the party so far, y'all. The party consists of a cleric, a sorcerer, a paladin, and an NPC fighter. Everyone's at 5th level. The setting is nautical, sailing from place to place. Magic is unknown. Magic is unknown. If it is high magic, limited magic, how plentiful magic items are.
I think that's what he means by the magic is unknown. He doesn't know like how saturated the world is.
Oh,
gonna
gotcha,
be
gotcha.
with
The amount of magic is unknown in the world. Gotcha. Everything else is unknown to him. Also, just asked if wanted to. Okay, so this is a brand new group. Doesn't really know the big approach. Gotcha. Okay. No. And this is fantastic. These are actually some of the more like more interesting ones, or the more like ones I get excited for. So let's see. So far, looking at the patrons, he's thinking of the Jin Air Genie, with a hollow statuette as the vessel. Plus, the wind-related abilities might be helpful for the ship to move slightly faster with gust of wind. That's always a fantastic aspect when you're going sailing. Always thinking about maneuverability is great, especially because if depending on how well the DM wants to run combat, you could possibly get away with things like being able to force wind into the enemy sail and stop them, or allow you to maybe make a sharper turn because you have wind that's not natural. So there's a lot of good ways of going about that. So I'm already liking where you're going with this. Or other small effects. Plus, if the DM allows the Aarakocra as a playable race, it would fit with the ability to fly as well. Being able to fly would be also pretty clutch. That or water-based, obviously, would be pretty clutch. But yeah, definitely depends on which one you're leaning. So you were thinking Fathomless for the Oceanic Heavy...
Just to be clear, this is a different subclass.
Right. So the Air Genie, the Air Jin...
when I first read it.
Right. So there was the Jin, or the Air Genie, with the hollow statuette. So another option is Fathomless, the Fathomless patron, which is for the Oceanic Heavy theme. But then being deep within islands would make powers useless without water nearby to make most of the Fathomless abilities. But it gives a swim speed, combining that with the fly speed ability from the Aarakocra, again, assuming the DM allows it, and normal land travel, having access to all types would be OP for a level 5. And I agree that it would be OP for a level 5. What?
I looked at a couple of the Fathomless abilities. I think a lot of them you can still technically use, because one of the big ones is a tentacle, kind of similar to the one I was talking about in my my Druid subclass. And you can still use that inland and whatnot. So.
Well, and the thing, too, is, like, it's all about balancing, right? How OP do you want to be at all times? Like, is the rest of the party built for land, and they're at the disadvantage at the sea? Because that would be great to take the Fathomless, right? You be the strong arm on the sea. They help you on land. That makes more sense. In fact, for me, not that disappointment, but that disadvantage on land leans heavily into that character build and is actually more fun to play because. And again, it depends on how heavy it is, right? If you're never on the ocean, if it's heavy oceanic, but it's literally, now you're at this island, now you're at this island, that does kind of suck. But if it's kind of a 50-50, if the rest of the party is at a 50-50 advantage, when they're on or off land, it would be kind of nice to have the opposite, right? But at the same time, he's right. Being able to, like, if he went the air route, that basically OP all the time. You know what I mean?
Air's
always going to be
air master race. All right. Although I did watch another video earlier today that I think I sent it to you. It was about earthbending and how earthbending is supposedly the most OP of all bending because they break the laws of physics. I don't know how much I agree with that.
There is so much to debate to be had on which ability is really the strongest, but
I just slightly disagreed with the premise he was bringing to the table. But that's neither a here nor there. That's another tangent for another day.
Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to see how much D&D Beyond allows us to look at.
I really wish they would just let you build random playable characters. Do you have a subscription to them?
I don't. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to let me have a lot.
I think I think you get access to the player's handbook stuff, and I think Fathomless might be one of the player's handbook subclasses.
Let's find out.
Unless they only give you SRD stuff. That would be lame. Oh, so Cosmic, by the way, my question for you is, in your original post, you said that it was a Ranger Warlock build, right? Is this a multi-class that you're thinking of doing? And if so, if you're building this at level 5, how many levels are you planning on going into each? Because
yeah, that's actually that would also kind of set the stage as well.
Just because it'll depend on which one of your well, when do you get a subclass in Ranger? Is it second level? I know some you do. Hold on. Multiclass, yes. Thinking Ranger 2, Warlock 3. That's kind of what I was anticipating. Is it third level for... No, where's my table? Pact is third level, yep. But you get your patron at first level. What the what? Hold on. Let's look at Fathomless real quick. Doop-a-doop. It is a first level feature. So, you get your features at first level with Warlock. So right out the gate, you get to start your custom journey to whatever patron that it is that you are oathing to. And then for Ranger, where are we? Table. Fighting style, favorite enemy, natural explorer. Ranger archetype is a third level. So with the split that you're talking about, you're going to just get the two base. You'll get a fighting style for Ranger. You'll get some spell casting. But again, and this is the question that I had, and I don't know if anyone's actually ever looked at this, but when you are multi-classing two half-casters, right? You have Warlocks, you have Paladins, you have Rangers. These are... Actually, no. Are Warlocks considered half-casters since they get their stuff back on a short rest like that? Warlocks are just a whole different breed when it comes to their casting.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep up with Warlocks, but no, they've had quite a few things. So yeah, he wants to multi-class a 2 Ranger, 3 Warlock. Is what he wants to do the build for.
So,
I'm looking for...
First level. You get 3...
Okay, so let's see here.
2... Alright. Stand by. That's Ranger, and then Warlock. Table. Spell See, yeah, Warlocks are just their own breed. They're completely different. I could do Ranger 3, Warlock 2, and pick an archery-based Ranger archetype. That could be kind of cool. When you do choose a pact Cosmic, it might be worth thinking about. There are 3 different types. There's the Pact of the Blade, where you get to manifest some sort of weapon. I don't know if it has to be a melee weapon, but I think it might. There's also Pact of the Chain, which gives you a familiar, and Pact of the Tome, which gives you a grimoire of sorts. And so it might be worth thinking about which one you might want to do if you go... when you end up getting to that level in Warlock. Do you plan on... I'm guessing you plan on Warlock being your primary class. And so you're going to want to go the furthest in that. And if that's the case, you're likely going to want a lot of the subclass features that they have.
Since he could do 3 ranger, 2 warlock, and pick the archery based ranger archetype, but he doesn't know what that he'll miss out on. I wouldn't go the ranger, not for the sea battles, not for if you're gonna go more like sea and island, I wouldn't be heavy on ranger. Thing and he says the thing about the warlock oath pact is what gives the character cursed arrows, based on the player's handbook or based on the proficiency bonus, tying ranger and warlock together. That's nice though. So choose your patron's gonna different. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, I think I have my answer.
Yeah. Is there a specific subclass you were talking about, Cosmic, that gives your character the cursed arrows based on the proficiency bonus? And if so, that would be a warlock subclass with cursed arrows. Now, if this is something you're asking for your DM to give you, that would be dope as hell. And I would love to see that combo. Because they can do some really cool stuff. Got it. Not a subclass feature, just the whole reason why you want to do this. No, that's legit. Especially with that mindset, I'm going to have to vote against Fathomless.
You're going against Fathomless?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Because, so he's describing like the whole point of his thing is he wants to have his pact basically be this like archery build, right? So he wants to be able to have these magical arrows that he gets to use, which is why he wants to kind of do a little bit of both, right? And so if that's the case, like I think that being able to use an air genie would play into that, you know. I would better.
I would love to believe that in a roleplay sense, but reading over both of these now that I've actually had a chance to review both, if the choice is between the two based on not only the setting but the abilities that you get, my vote's Fathomless.
Now, strictly, mechanically, I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree.
I just not even just mechanically, but even with like this, because I'm reading with what this is giving, and this doesn't really help at all with archery though. Like reading through the air genie, there's not a whole lot that I'm seeing here that would benefit the archery side. Whereas the Fathomless, I mean, neither of them really take away from the archery, you know. But at least with the Fathomless, all of it is ranged attack. At least it sticks with ranged attack. Plus, he gets the ability for teleportation with the group, which is definitely helpful later down the road. I mean, I'm not exactly sure that. I mean, roleplay wise, being able to pop into your own little vessel like a genie could be really interesting for roleplay purposes.
But, I do really like that.
You know, looking at the extra abilities, like he had it right? Like Thunder Wave, Gust of Wind, Wind Wall. These are great in certain contexts, you know, for like good spells for the air. Sure. But when compared to, and not just mechanically, but also compared to, you know, create and destroy water, get on an enemy ship, create water, and you can start sinking it. You know what I mean? Like that's
when I say mechanically, by the way, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like
the stuff you can do with it.
You know, summoning elemental, control water, and summoning an elemental. Like control water at 4th level, they're already going to be there. That can control a ship just as well.
Oh,
as
you
wind.
won't have 4th level spells yet,
or spell level. No, so yeah, but still, like, you know what I mean. Like control water can also be as helpful. I'm also looking at, like, you know, at first level, you get the tentacle. As a bonus action, it's a 10-foot tentacle. So that's kind of giving you that ranged aspect. It can also hold people, so that can help you as a ranger. Bonus action, you can move the tentacle. I like that. The swimming, I think, is... Swimming and flying, I mean, obviously flying is always going to be more OP in general, more often. Being able to do the ability to hover for 10 minutes, like fly for 10 minutes. But again, if it's more along the lines of a seafaring kind of thing, I'm still a little bit more like wanting to lean for swimming. I just,
yeah,
like I said,
I was
mechanically,
even going to suggest to lean heavy into it and like go the Trident race, like
oh yeah, that's the one I was saying. That
would be really cool. If you wanted to go the fathomless route,
but if he gets the Aarakocra, imagine just being able to fly naturally and then dive and go underwater. And then do the swim and then come up and fly. Like, getting to another ship would be nothing. You dive off your ship, go underwater, zoom over there, and then fly on top of their ship. Like for me, and then you get the Guardian Tentacle, the Fathom, the Grasping Tentacles, the Fathomless Plunge. Those, to me, I think have longer staying power, not just in the setting, but as a player, like a group player, as a team player.
I'll say it's way more practical to choose this route.
And it's mainly because I'm also feeling like the Genie is, I don't want to say self-serving. The Genie build just doesn't seem like it has as much party cohesion.
Very much so.
It's definitely more of a not trying to be a hot shot. Not like you're trying to take the story or take the role. It's just it doesn't offer as much to the whole party and the whole setting.
I played one in a one shot one time, and I 100% agree with that assessment.
Well, let me get to what he said, because I have one more thing. So the setting, he says the setting being heavy water and sailing themes makes it too predictable. I don't like doing predictable things, and I'm more into the whole. You didn't see that coming from the party. Having flying from the race and swimming from the Warlock Oath with the normal walking for every race is too much of 5th level. I mean, yeah, I would disagree, because you are walking into a new gaming group. It's nice to do that. I didn't see that coming, which I think the Aarakocra with the Fathomless would do that. A flying race that can swim. I think that would do that. I didn't see that coming. But if you go too far into I want to do something that doesn't make sense, so it's flashy, just don't get into I want to go so far as you stop becoming helpful. And that's what I'm trying to say is also coming not just from the best build, but from the situation. You're going into a new gaming group. I don't know if they've established up to 5th level and you're coming in to join them, or if they all start at 5th level, right? So that's a big deal, whether or not they have established characters. But yeah, I would say that overall, the overall accomplishment, I think, would be better accomplished with Fathomless. I think it would be a better party cohesion. I think it would be more setting. It would fit the setting more. I don't think it would be cliche, because unless everybody in the party has some sort of way to swim and everything, it just adds one more dynamic to the party. And yeah, I would say going into something like this, I would want to lean more towards party cohesion and more towards justifying the setting personally, than trying to be something that nobody was expecting, just because for me that has more of a potential to backfire. And again, I just think that when it comes down to what you get out of the Genie, I feel like it's also just very... like I said, it's very good for the role play from the player.
It's honestly, just as a subclass in general, from my perspective, not as synergistic as I would like it to be as a whole. But again, I really think that my suggestion, like I would even still, even with saying all that, I would still suggest that, just because I feel like with the way I think that Cosmic is thinking of playing this character, I feel like it would vibe with where he wants to go, with like the mindset of, hey, I want my patron to have imbued me with these these arrows that like I now have like responsibility for. Maybe he chooses to like because he only has certain number of like spell slots, so each one of his arrows is a spell, and so maybe that's how he does his character stuff, and so maybe depending on what spells he gets. What he can do with those spells or whatever. Maybe he wants to find a way to uniquely work with the DM to say, hey, can I have my stuff look like this or whatever?
Right,
I don't
right.
know. But I think there's a lot of cool stuff. I think you could do that same thing with Fathomless. I think it would be harder to like mix the water theme with the archery vibe again, if that's what he's trying to premise it off of, because eventually, as he levels up, right now he initially said 2 Ranger, 3 Warlock, right?
Yeah.
But eventually he could get both of them to where they both have subclasses, right? And so if that happens, like he's gonna eventually pick a Ranger subclass, and so like what might go well with that, what might flow into what he wants to build out. Like I think that with the 2 options that he gave us, like I honestly think if I keep looking, I might find a better Warlock subclass than either of these.
Oh yeah, I'm just going off of just the 2 that he gave us.
For sure, but like based off
if given the 2 choices, I'm just saying Fathomless because like we said,
and
like
you said, I 100% agree with you. Practically, that's
the Jin just doesn't do anything, right? Like realistically, you're getting a resistance to thunder. You're getting the ability to eventually get like a small wish from them. You can go into your bottle. The bottle can kind of be like a hideout for you and your buddies. You gain characteristics of your, as a bonus action, you can start to fly. I mean, the flying's nice at 6th level, but I just don't find that, there's a lot of utility with this one, even if going for the Ranger. I think there's got to be a better subclass. Like, I like the Ranger Warlock. I like the concept of it. I think that is definitely the way to go. But what type of Warlock you want to be,
I will say I lightweight think it's going to be a pain in the butt keeping track of those spells. Half-caster spells plus Warlock spell slots.
Yeah,
just because Warlock spell slots in general, you have to handle them very, very differently because they come back on a short rest. But,
yeah, and the Gust of Wind is nice because it is a 2nd level spell, but it is only, it's a very situational spell. And at what is it at? Where do you get? Because you get resistance to cold at 6th level, fully submerged. You can talk to people.
Oh,
interpret.
You were right.
You are a creature. See, it takes damage within 10 feet of tentacle. Where was this one? You do get Gust of Wind at 2nd level as a 2nd level spell, but you also get Control Water as a 4th level spell. Or actually, wait a second. Hold on. If Gust of Wind is what you were going for, Fathomless gives you Gust of Wind as a 2nd level spell. They both,
does it?
Yeah, they both give you Gust of Wind.
Oh, that's good shit.
So I mean, Fathomless would still even do that more because you not only get Gust of Wind, but you'll also get Control Water, both of which would be clutch, being able to have in a seafaring battle. So I definitely see where you're going with that, but also I mean. What's a better resistance, especially for seafaring stuff, thunder resistance or cold resistance? I would assume in a more realistic setting, cold resistance would be better.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is if your setting's going to have you going through a lot of storms, because I think that's one of like the primary.
But do you take thunder damage from that, or do you take lightning damage?
I mean, depending on your setting and like what you're up against, it's probably a little bit of both.
True.
I will say thunder damage is one of the rarest damage types that I've ever seen. So getting resistance to thunder damage is really not super.
Yeah. I mean, you do get greater invisibility from the genie, but yeah, they both give you Thunder Wave. They both give you Gust of Wind. I mean, hell, even Fathomless gives you Summon Elemental, a water elemental. Breathing underwater, flying's nice, but breathing. But I mean, the thing is too, it's like I feel like flying can probably be more easily like more easily, like I guess, accomplished than water breathing. I would think. I mean, you can still get potions and everything, but I feel like
Water
they're
breathing?
yeah, like potions of water breathing. But I'm just wondering, like, would
Well,
it be?
technically, fly and breathe, water breathing are both third level spells.
Are they both third level?
I think so.
Yeah.
Um,
And at first, because you get the ability to breathe underwater at first level with Fathomless, but you don't get the ability to fly until sixth level. So I mean, he'd only have to wait one level to fly, but he'd automatically be able to breathe underwater with Fathomless. So yeah, again, it just between the two, I think it fits the setting. Yeah. It fits a party build. I think that it's a richer backstory to do the Fathomless too, because even looking at the Fathomless, like the little excerpt, it even says like, often sailors, in when like sinking to a storm or whatever, will call on the Fathomless to help them, right? Like these are the packs and how they're made. So even having like a small history of being a prior sailor, or being someone who got close to death and made this pact with the underwater, with the deep, having some sort of pull in that setting, I think just makes a lot more sense. But I think you were correct. There's probably, outside of these two, a better one than these two. And that's the hard thing, right? It's when we're choosing between the two, but not necessarily meaning that that's the best option.
Yeah.
There's like more likely a better one.
I know that I'm not choosing the practical option. I really feel like there's a lot you can do with it. And even like Cosmic said, you can, and even though Control Water can do way more than just a water arrow, like you could do a water tsunami with Control Water. Not
let's see.
But like you could do some hefty ass stuff.
So Cosmic actually has a question about that, because he wanted to use Gust of Wind. So he says that he wants to know wow, I can talk. He wants to know if he can use Control Water to form an arrow, and can it be used like a normal one for underwater combat?
So,
I just pulled up Control Water here. What were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
No, I gotta read it. So until the spell ends, you can control any freestanding water inside the area you choose. That is a cube up to 100 feet on a side. You can choose from any of the following effects as an action. So flood, cause the water level of the standing water in the area to rise by as much as 20 feet. Part water, redirect flow. You can cause flowing water in the area to move in a direction you choose. Whirlpool, effect requires a body of water at least 50 square feet. You cause the whirlpool from the center. Okay, so at this point, Control Water only allows you to flood, part, redirect, and do a whirlpool. But I don't know if you could talk to your DM about maybe doing a water arrow. That makes sense, like, a version of water flow. But all of those are pretty clutch in water combat, because those are all card control.
Yeah, so what this spell is talking about, it is 100. This thing is freaking huge. This is freaking massive.
I mean, you would change the flow like next to a rudder, and basically make it stop so the rudder's like useless. Or you know what I mean? Like you can change the enemy's boat's direction. You can flip them around. You could capsize them.
Yo, imagine creating because it says you can create whirlpools. Imagine creating a very narrow water tunnel within this area that just goes through certain people, and they just get run around like they're in an underwater tornado.
Dude, you can part water. You cause water in the area to move apart and create a trench. The trench extends across the spell's area, and the separated water forms a wall on either side. The trench remains until the spell is done. Dude, you can literally just you could just make a trench, have the enemy ship fall in it, and then collapse it on the now crashed ship. So OP for that setting. I'm saying, I think this out of the two would be the way to go, just because it is so versatile. Even if you feel like it's a little bit cliche or too on the mark, but that's the kind of the point of the setting, right?
I mean,
if the setting is there,
cliche.
I think it's fitting. That's the idea.
It is very fitting for the setting. I just thought the mindset that Cosmic himself had for his character was going a different direction than this.
No, and that's probably totally correct.
To give him yes, this is definitely the most practical option, but if you're going for something else, like, dude, like, go for it. Like, I do want to take a glance at what some of the other subclasses are, just because I really feel like I really see. To be honest, especially because you want it to be centered around like your arrows, your weapon, I would want you to get set up because Hexblade is so cool. But again, Hexblade is supposed to be for melee. And so the way I would go about it is I would talk to your DM and be like, "Yo, can we change this to uh uh can we change this to a ranged weapon?" And oh, bro, you know it'd be epic. You'd get unlimited ammo because your bow and arrow would be your Eldritch Blast. Instead of like casting Eldritch Blast, it would be you use your bow and arrow and you're shooting arrows at these people. But just like with Eldritch Blast, you could like shoot multiple targets at the same time. That would be the sickest way to use a bow on people, and like all of these, and you would just manifest these arrows, and it could be water arrows, it could be all kinds of stuff. Like, that is honestly the route that I think you could go, because then you could manifest your weapon out of nowhere. You could be in the middle of anything and you could, boom, I got my arrow, and you could use your, I think you get to add your charisma modifier to all of your attack rolls, and you can get what's it called, agonizing blast as a eldritch invocation, which adds your charisma modifier under your damage rolls as well. It would just make you a powerhouse. Now granted, again, it's not as what do you call it, team centric. You could definitely make it work thematically if you wanted to, but it definitely would turn you into like. But again, we were looking at the party dynamics. What did we say we had? We already have a cleric, a sorcerer, a paladin. You got some decent, and a fighter NPC. You got some decent melee guys. So being more caster focused. And I know you want to be more. Well, I mean, you're being more ranged anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be using your bow and arrow. You'd be using your Eldritch Blasts from far away. Like, you wouldn't have to have like a whole bunch of AC. You could. I honestly still think it would be cool. That's honestly my vote. My vote is gonna be talking to your DM about letting you be a Hexblade, and using your your hex, your blade as a bow instead.
I would, yeah, see, that 100% is a fantastic idea, and I think you should approach your DM with that, is changing the Hexblade to a hex bow. There's no reason why you couldn't alternate it. Here's another option, though, now that we're talking about alternatives. Because it's a little bit off the mark. It's a little bit of the, kind of the surprise, like, oh, I didn't see that coming. But it also gives a lot of those benefits, right? Have you thought about doing the Raven Queen? Because I'm looking here, right? So it's like, if you really wanted to kind of go with, I wasn't expecting that. So so a couple of the spells that you get: False Life, Sanctuary. You get Silence, Spiritual Weapon, Feign Death, Speak with Dead, Ice Storm, Locate Creature, Commune, and Cone of Cold. So just a couple of things. So I saw the Raven Queen listed, but didn't look at the info. So we'll go over the info real quick. Actually, let me change it here because I have it right in front of me. No. Hello? I want... What is going on here? There we go. I want this. So, the Raven Queen. So... Here's your first list of spells. So first level, you have False Life and Sanctuary. Second level, you have Silence and Spiritual Weapon, which Kage is a very big fan of.
I love Spiritual Weapon.
Third level, you have Feign Death and Speak with Dead, which can also be clutch in certain gameplays. So that could be one of those. I wasn't expecting that character to come here, but your Cleric may also have that covered. Fourth level, you get Ice Storm and Locate Creature, both super clutch in a saline battle.
I'm actually curious if a DM would allow you to like freeze the surface of the ocean with something like Ice Storm.
Or locate creatures so you don't lose people on the ocean.
Yeah.
And then Commune and Cone of Cold. So Sentinel Raven. So this is one of my favorite parts about Raven Queen. So starting at first level, you gain the service of a spirit sent by the Raven Queen to watch over you. The spirit assumes the form and game statistics of a raven, and it always obeys your commands, which you can give it telepathically while it's within 100 feet of you. While the raven is perched on your shoulder, you gain dark vision with a range of 30 feet and a bonus to your passive wisdom perception score and to your wisdom perception or your normal perception checks. The bonus equals to your charisma modifier. While perched on your shoulder, the raven can't be targeted by any attack or other harmful effect. Only you can cast spells on it. It can't take damage, and it is... You can only cast spells on it. It can't take damage and is incapacitated. Or it can't be... Okay, yeah. I think it can't be incapacitated. You can see through the raven's eyes and hear what it hears while it's within 100 feet of you.
Yeah, it's basically like the Find Familiar.
Yeah, it's such a good little like spy technique. In combat, you roll initiative for the raven and control how it acts. If it's slain by a creature, you gain advantage on all attack rolls against the killer for the next 24 hours. Again, good on battles on the sea when you might have to chase someone down. So that 24-hour mark is really great too. Raven doesn't require sleep while it's in 100 feet. It can awaken you from sleep as a bonus action, so that's great. You never have to worry about getting snuck up on. Raven vanishes when it dies if you die or if the two of you are separated by more than 5 miles. At the end of a short or long rest, you can call the raven back to you no matter where it is or whether it died, and it reappears within 5 feet of you.
Interesting.
Now, if your DM allows the raven to have a personality.
Now, I'm curious, especially because this is a warlock subclass. Is this specifically like the Hexblade Warlock, where it's meant to be picked with the Pact of the Blade, and this one is meant to be picked with the Pact of the Chain, and this Raven is going to replace your Chain Raven, or is this gonna
I'm pretty sure this is 100% just with the Raven Queen. I don't think this has to do with that. I think this is just 100% its own thing.
Right, and I think that you get this Raven only with it. So that means your if you choose to pick the Pact of the Chain, which basically gets you this innate familiar associated with your patron.
Right.
And you can choose whether it's like an imp, and it has some special forms you can choose because it's this type of one. But specifically, if the Raven is your patron, I mean, it's not like you couldn't. I mean, you could probably say, "Hey, I want to make this also a Raven," but then it would be a completely different one based upon a completely different feature that you got from your same class.
Mm-hmm. I do like the idea that if you talk with your DM and allow the Raven to have a personality or basically be its own character and not just a command tool,
right?
That concept right there, if it'll disappear after 5 miles, basically just saying, hey, fly as fast as you can ahead of us. And then on the next long rest, you just call it back. How far did you make it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What'd you see? Like, you could literally send this as a scout and never have to wait for it to come back. You only have to wait for it to go one direction, and then at your next long rest, just call it back to you. So little things like that I look at this. Soul of the Raven. So at 6th level, you gain the ability to merge with your Raven spirit. As a bonus action, when your Raven is perched on your shoulder, your body merges with your Raven's form. While merged, you become tiny. You replace your speed with the Raven's, and you can use your action only to dash, disengage, dodge, help, hide, or search. During this time, you gain the benefits of your Raven being perched on your shoulder as an action, and as an action, you and the Raven return to normal. So basically, the ability of you get the dark vision and the bonus to your perception. So you get all of those bonuses when you're merged with them. So I like that because, again, when Cosmic said he wants to do the whole I wasn't seeing that coming, imagine you just have this pet Raven and then at one point you just merge with it and fly off the ship to go do some scouting. And then just come back and then merge, and now you're just this dude with a Raven on his arm. I if you really want to wow them and kind of get something that's a little bit, unique and not, not what's expected, but still beneficial to the team.
Right.
This is like super good, especially because you can hear what the Raven says. You can just go park the Raven on someone else's ship, or have it go to land and then listen in on some stuff before you guys disembark. You know what I mean? You can have your Raven go around and look around your ship for people trying to sneak up on it. Your Raven doesn't sleep, so when you're asleep, you can tell the Raven just fly around the ship and wake me up if someone starts climbing from the water. Like, you're the ultimate alarm system now. Your Raven can basically always tell you what's up.
Little alarm spell. That's not even a spell.
Raven's Shield at 10th level. The Raven Queen grants you a protective blessing. You gain advantage on death saving throws, immunity to the frightened condition, and resistance to necrotic damage.
Okay.
And then finally, Queen's Right Hand. Starting at 14th level, you can channel the Raven Queen's power to slay a creature. You can cast Finger of Death. After you cast this spell with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So at 14th level, you can basically just... Finger of Death is at 14th level is a 7th level spell. So you just get this. Yeah, you send negative energy coursing through a creature that you can see within range, causing it searing pain. The target must make a Constitution saving throw. It takes 7d8 plus 30 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful save. A humanoid killed by this spell rises at the start of your next turn as a zombie and is permanently under your command, following your verbal orders as best to its abilities. Bro, that is just like, so...
Frawl.
Yeah, if you can do that many 7th level, yeah.
Bruh.
But just forever, just fucking forever, it's yours. What would you say, Cosmic? Okay, so the party wizard necromancer in the Wednesday group has that, but it takes the form of an owl. That's cool. I like that. The Raven.
That's kind of dope.
So you don't like having to deal with manage extra creatures like the familiar or mount. You don't mind with something like conjure animals as temporary, but the version that lasts forever, not a fan. Yeah. So that's our take on it. I would say that, the Fathomless is probably the best option. I would say that, the Raven Queen's probably a close second just because it adds some of that extra uniqueness. But I think what it really comes down to...
The Hexblade.
Oh, the Hexblade. The 100% the Hexblade is also a great opportunity if they let you do the Hex Bow.
I was even thinking... I don't know how I feel about it, but there was I think it was the Gloomstalker Ranger subclass that I was thinking
Gloomstalker
you could eventually get into, and you could do some really cool additional stuff that would play into it as well.
Yeah, no, the Gloomstalker is phenomenal. It's stupid OP. Like it's a stupid build.
I mean, it's kind of hardcore. It's a stupid build. Question.
Answer.
That was really easy.
Yeah, no, that is great. I mean, and when it comes to the rest of it, because I know he said he hasn't really like chosen the rest of it, but it's like, I don't know, when it comes to gender, I don't really look at gender as a balancing thing. That's just more of a personal preference on what you're interested in playing and what kind of like personality you want to take on. Because I think really once we come down to once you get your main part, your class and your warlock patron, I think everything else will make sense how you want to like follow it through and what kind of player what kind of character you want to build. The race though, if you're gonna go with the Aarakocra, if your DM lets you do the Aarakocra, if not, try the Trident. I mean, again, I know you don't want to be, you might not feel like it's you might feel like it's too on the nose.
Yeah.
But I think it would still be a great opportunity. It's a unique character build. It's a unique race.
Hey, okay. Here's one that's...
it'd be hilarious, though. This one would go if you don't want the water-based stuff, or if you do want the water-based stuff, being a Khajiit, a cat who just wants to go into the water. That would be hilarious. Because that would be a build no one would expect, right? You're this cat, and then all of a sudden you jump into the water and can breathe underwater and shit.
Or there's this one, the Grung. They're these tiny frog people. Like
the Grung.
The Grung. Like, oh my! If you were to Grung, that would be phenomenal.
Okay, so the question is with the Fathomless one, and as an Aarakocra, if they're flying, use their movement to dive into the water. Can I use myself as the improvised weapon using the beak as a piercing damage? I think birds do that as a form of hunting. You know,
I mean, yeah,
I'd roll for it. I'd say roll for it.
I'd let you go.
I would
for it.
totally let you do it, depending on your character. I mean, now, see, okay, so this is actually a phenomenal question, not just as a joke question, because I would roll for it. I would let you do it, but here's why, though. Here's a big difference. See, normally I would encourage DMs to say roll for that, right? Let the fun happen, right? You know, rule of cool. It sounds awesome. Do it. But even more so, if you're playing in High Point with me, and you bring that to my attention, like you say, hey, this is what I want to do. My first thing is I'm going to go immediately back to how you described what your character looks like. Because if you've described your character as like having a parrot beak that comes down
Rounded.
and is much more used for crushing, and that's how you look, nah, that's not the beak. But if you want to have, if you said like, nah, I have like more like a jetted thing, like I could poke someone's eye out if I wanted to. Even if you said that offhandedly, like, what do you look like? Oh, I have like a pointed beak. Like I could walk up and just poke your eye out. If you said that and then later down the road brought this to my attention, I'd be like, 100% you can do it. Roll for it. But if you came to me and were like, nah, my beak's all fucked up, it's all down, or it's used for like nut cracking, I'd be like, that's not, you can't really attack with your beak, you know what I mean? But that's me. That's how me, like that's how I do High Point.
Again, hypothetical question. What if up until this point in the game, it hadn't come up enough to be described? Would you allow them to, in that moment, say, this is what I would like?
Always, you know how it is. Like, yeah, if you can justify it, 100% it's rollable. It's just making sure that if you've done something that undoes what you want to do, right? Like, you can't say, oh, I'm an amazing wizard, but yeah, I have like a slightly gimp hand, like it doesn't really work, so I'm always left-handed and I just never use this hand. You can't later down the line be like, well, you have a dagger and the enemy just dropped his hand. Well, I'm going to pick up his big-ass battle sword. Like, you can't. You have a gimp hand, remember? Like, that's the kind of stuff I take into account. Like, you've made it a point to say, this is a deal. You can't just undo, you can't retcon all of that. That's my kind of deal with it. But yeah, so he also says, like, basically like a mounts momentum attack, but flying and swimming version. So he's using the dive action to gain the momentum, but then he wants to still use an attack out of it. I mean, to me, that's also, yeah, whether you want to look at it as a mounts momentum or if you just want to look at it as a preemptive dash. Or just like jumping off of like a high area and doing, a stab attack at someone below you. It's all, all of that I think works. I think that's 100% what you could do with it. I also like to think of the idea too. It's like if you want to get crazy with it, you do the fathomless with the tentacles because you can make them do all you want. Imagine being able to, like, especially if you can spawn two tentacles at like the front of your boat that lash out, grab you, and then like
launch you.
Yeah, like a slingshot, right? Like you just sit there, you go boom, boom, and they just grab both of your hands, and then they just
like
pull.
Spider-Man or Luffy.
Exactly, and then you just get launched off the boat.
That's funny.
Like that would be so cool.
That would be legit.
Or oh my god, or have a tentacle. Someone's trying to board you. You have tentacles. Just slap them out of the air as they're trying to swing over.
Swing across, just boxing them out of the air like a speed bag. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of a Warlock Ranger. I really just think that, yeah, the biggest thing you're going to have to do, Cosmic, is just find out where do you want to fit in, and do you want to be a more standout character, or do you want to be more of a team player? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that being the standout player means that you're not going to like help the team along. It's just you can make a build that is more team focused, or you can make a build that is more your gameplay focused. Neither of them the wrong answer, but once you make that, I think deciding your patron is going to be 10 times easier because you have a lot of great ideas, but I think you're at the stage that we all get when we're trying to make a character is I don't know if you've made all of those decisions on, do I want this to, it's like when you make a cleric, do you want to be a healer? Do you want to be the ones that buff everybody? Do you want to be the ones that like, you want
to be a jack of all trades?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, once you figure out if you want this character to be more focused for your gameplay or for the betterment of the in-game party, right? Do you want a character that blends in and basically highlights everybody? Once you do that, I think this build's going to be perfect because like Kage said, with Gloomstalker, I think is a phenomenal way to go with the Ranger. And I love the idea of adding in the Warlock with it. It's just, really looking at what are you going to get from the Warlock? Like, as long as your DM's willing to work with you on the overall idea, I think you're going to be able to accomplish pretty much everything. But really looking at what the Warlock patron's giving you, it's just a big decision on, do you want stuff that's going to be more beneficial to the party as a whole, or just more stuff that's going to be more fun for you to play? And once you make that, I think you already know that you have 2, maybe 3 in mind that are fitting. I think once you make the decision, there's only going to be one answer left. And that's kind of why I'm saying, like, once you know that, I think you'll know exactly what patron works best for the build that you're trying to do. Because that's what I always do, right? Whenever I create a new character, especially if it's a new gaming group, I'm just like, do I want to just kind of like, not like, Rambo it and like lone wolf it, but there are some times where I'm just like, I'm here to have fun. I'm just going to make a joke, not a joke character, but I'm going to make a character that I really have fun with. Mm-hmm. And then there are other times where I'm like, okay, I want to get into this campaign. So I'm going to make a character that either highlights these guys or is what they're missing. Like, I don't mind being the flex, right? The one that fills the party. And I do enjoy doing that. But there are times where I'm just like, nah, I'm making a character that's purely for me, for my enjoyment. I'm not going to go out of my way to screw everybody else building this character, but I'm going to make a character that I want to play. And both of those are fantastic ways to approach it. Neither of those are wrong. It's just once you know which one you want to do, I think it makes it a lot easier to build the character.
Saying he wants a little mix of both.
Contradictory as they might be, then if you want a little bit of both, then it really comes down to how showboaty do you want to be. Because if you're going to get the Aarakocra, like if you want a little bit of both, like what it comes down to is choose your showboatiness first then. Because helping the party out is easier than showboating. You know what I mean? Like playing a character that's say showboating isn't not like showing off, but as in building a character that is super helpful for others is easy because all you have to do is give them what they don't have. Give them healing, give them buffs, give them debuffs, give them damage boosts, give them, a paladin who can be a tank, right? Give them whatever they need to be better. That's a lot easier than trying to do something that you really enjoy while also not being also being super helpful, right? So what I would say is if you want to be both, first choose how you want to play the character and then fill in the help, right? So it's like with the Aarakocra, you're going to have a fun time playing it because you're going to have all of the air stuff. You're going to be able to fly. You're going to be a ranger flying. So at that point, choosing your warlock, it's like if your Aarakocra and being able to fly as a ranger isn't your highlight, then figure out what the highlight of your character is going to be. What is going to be the most fun aspect that you want to play? Choose that first, and then the next thing is what fills in. Like if you want the warlock that is the part that you care about, right? Like let's say you really wanted the Jin for the air stuff. Then at that point, if that's what's the highlight of what's going to make you have fun, make sure the ranger part or the race you choose is what's going to benefit the party. If it's more about the actual character build and not about the warlock power, build the character out first with all of the stuff you want to play through, right? The race and your class ability, or not your class abilities, but your race abilities and all of that. And then when you're done building the character you want to play, then choose a warlock that helps the party, right? That's what I'm trying to say is like if you want to be both, whichever one you want to basically have the most fun with, choose that one first, then fill in for the party.
Gotcha. I always look at it like I have little sliders. Like I have one like a giant mixing board. It's like there's certain things that are a higher priority for me to have in certain situations. It's like, hey, I really in this game today I really want to have good combat. Like that my slider's higher here, right? Or in this game I really want to have really good RP or whatever the case may be. So a lot of times when you're building this character, it's like, what do I want? What slider do I want to be the highest? Do I want all my sliders to be the highest? Because then it
just can't work. You have to understand that as you raise one will lower. And the reason why, it sounds kind of contradictory, but the reason why I'm actually suggesting be selfish first, because if you purely want to help the party, that's easy. But if you want to do both, right? Because if you just want to showboat, if you just want to have fun, purely fun, that's easy. But when you want to do both, the hardest part is remembering to have your own fun. Because if you start out trying to be helpful, right? If you start out saying, I want to do both, but you start out approaching it trying to be helpful, there's too many ways to be helpful, which is why I say it's easy. It's easy to be helpful because there's a lot of areas to fill. But if you start trying to be helpful first, you're going to fill in all of these gaps. Then by the time you get to what you want to have fun with, you're going to have less things to choose from. You're going to have less of a time having fun, which means you're going to be less effective playing that player or that character, because as good of a build as that might be for the party, if you're not having fun, you're just not going to be adding into the narrative that we always talk about, right? So this is one of those times, if you want to be both, if you want to have a lot of fun with the new character, but you also don't want to take away from the party, you kind of have to think of yourself first. What is the most important part about this character build? Whether it's the warlock side, the race side, the personality side, the ranger side, whatever it is that you think you're going to get the most out of, plan that out first. Because once you've decided that, I want to be the Aarakocra, I want to have wind magic, and I want to be an archer. If that's what it is, everything else you choose should be focused on, okay, what does the party not have? And I think you'll have the most fun out of that, because once you have all your needs met and you're going to have fun with this character, then you get to add the challenges of, okay, how do I be more helpful, right? And I think that's a better approach than saying, here's all the ways I can be helpful. Now, how do I have fun doing that? You know what I mean? Because then you're just not going to want to play with that party. You're not going to want to be, you're not going to want to be in this gaming session anymore. And let's face it, we've all been in a group where there's that one person who's not having fun. And it, regardless of if they're intentionally doing anything, it affects the group, right? Like, it always affects the group when you have that one character that's just not, or that one player that's not engaging. So if you want to do both, like I said, just approach it for what you want, and then fill in the gaps for what the party could use, and really talk to your DM about all of the options that you want to do, because I think a lot of people don't ask enough questions about what they want to do, or they ask and then they get butthurt when they hear no. You know what I mean? Like, have a solid idea, but make sure that the solid idea you're willing to move forward with doesn't include all of the maybes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make sure you have a solid build that will be pretty much guaranteed to pass. Then ask for the maybes, right? You don't want to make, because that's where people get disappointed when they don't get something they ask for, because they don't have a backup, or they built it up so much that they're unwilling to accept the lesser option. Whereas if you approach it of, here's the build I'm moving forward with, but here's some cool things I'd like to add. Whereas if you say, here's the build I want to go with, here's some cool things I put in, well, if they say no, you now have to take it out of what your build was. But if you're asking to add them, you're not taking anything away. You're just not getting to add. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a different mindset. It's a different way to approach it, both from the DM and the player. And I've seen a lot personally of better experiences when you approach it that way.
No, I think I agree with you on that front. I really do.
So let's see what's going on here. So
he was asking about
the feat or ASI from 4th level. Wait, is the feat or ASI from 4th level a overall thing or a class specific thing? So as a 2-3 Ranger Warlock split, get 1 5th level overall. I am pretty sure, doesn't that happen per class? It's not master level.
You need to be at least 4th level in a class
in
order to get an ASI or a feat.
So yeah, because the idea would be, if you are a 2-3, there is no ASI, but once you become a 2-4, you would get it.
Correct.
And then once you become a 4-4, you get it again.
Correct.
Which is one of the bonuses of it. So it's not your master level, it's your combined level. Or it's your individual class level, not your combined level.
Correct.
But that's also interesting to point, though, because there is something that could be said as a homebrew rule, or as for DMs out there, to offer something additional for... I mean, you're already getting a bunch of bonuses for multi-classing, but you could have something where you give them some sort of bonus every master level, or every combined level.
You're right. Player or character level.
Yeah, I keep saying master level, character level.
Master level.
So I can get it if I do a 4-1 split rather than a 3. Yeah, so if you did a 4-1 right out the gate for this level 5 build, then you would get it. But if you did a 2-3, you'd have to wait till you at least got level 6 and then put that 3 into 4. So kind of depends on you on whether or not you want to wait that one extra level, because especially with the Warlock, a lot of them get something at level 6 anyway. So I could see why you would want the ASI now, but... Yeah, I mean,
And I think another important thing to look at is specifically for warlocks is infusions, because depending upon, I think you get your infusions at level 2, and your infusions really affect a good amount. Like you can get some pretty powerful, I keep saying infusions, what are they called, invocations.
I think I went to art. That's so funny. I'm like, I was like, what are you talking about? Isn't that what it is? Like, no, I think I was
Eldritch
thinking
invocations.
Yeah.
You get those at level 2, and you get to choose 2 of them at that level. So whether you get to level 2 or level 3 in your warlock, you'll have these things. And
I would almost suggest doing the 2-3 instead of the 4-1. And the reason being because it also gives you, at least depending on how often, because he even said that he's pretty sure they started at level 3 and have recently gone to level 5. So that means that they're probably leveling up regularly, or there should be. Mm-hmm. So another option to do is do the 2-3. Don't get the ASI or the feat right away, because you could use the first gaming session or 2 to kind of test the waters, see where your build's going with the party, see where everything is, and then immediately upon your next level up, that's when you can get another boost into level 4. You'd be able to flesh out the character a little bit better. You wouldn't make any, you have a chance to not make any mistakes.
And honestly,
and you'd be able to learn what is the most beneficial for this party, right? So I think it might be beneficial more so to do the 2-3
feel out the character
and at least wait till the next the level up session
and see what kind of things that you're actually using, you're actually benefiting from, you're actually depending upon. I don't know if this is a fresh enough gaming group that you've never played with this DM before. Like that's huge. Like if you know like the types of things that he's going to reward, in combat and role play and whatever, it might gear you towards a perception feat rather than a combat feat.
Right. And keep in mind too, with it being the, not sure if it's going to be water heavy or island heavy, if you were to take a feat or, in an ASI, and then as soon as you get into the game after a gaming session or 2, you realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done this. Like it just, again, because it's a new approach, I would be more cautious. And I would just say, having a feat 1 or 2 gaming sessions earlier isn't going to drastically change anything, because the 2-3 is going to get it, right around the corner. I mean, like you said, they just went from 3 to 5. If they're brand new, if they're a brand new gaming session, you're going to make it to level 6 in no time. I would just say use that as an opportunity to better flesh out the character build, instead of worrying about having all that figured out right now. The DM's new, never played with them before. So yeah, I would say hold off. Do a 2-3. I think you'll be a little bit more well-rounded as a character at level 5 by doing that. I think you'll over time be able to realize your goals with the ranger, because if you did the 4-1, I'm assuming you would do 4 in warlock and 1 in ranger, which would really, I think, set you back on the build. I think a 2-3 is a solid start. You can immediately get into level 4 warlock and get that ASI or the feat, and then from there you're not very far off. A 2-4 is an easy starting point to catch up, and if you want to be like a 5-5 at some point, like it's an easy way to catch up. So
yeah, that's not bad.
So when it comes to feats and ASIs, you prefer the ASI and the overall bonuses, whereas feats can be situational, and I forget about them most of the time anyway.
I'm not gonna lie, it do be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and it really depends on the build. I agree with that. That's where it's like with feats. I really enjoy feats in settings like the one that you've described you're going into, because usually in those type of settings when they're very heavily themed, feats become a lot more useful. But yeah, there's so many feats that are situational, and so many where if you start to dive into feats, a lot of the times you need combinations of feats to really get the most out of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas you can't ever really go wrong with ASI if you have a solid character build.
Very much so. I mean, especially, there are some that you just skyrocket with ASIs, like a monk or a barbarian. Like you increase certain stats, and like everything about that character goes up. Their AC, their attack,
and so being able to get ahead of that with
saves,
ASIs is just it's beneficial.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's pretty. I think it's a good build, man. I think you're on the right track. I think if you want to have fun but also want to be beneficial to the party, like I said, figure out which part of the build is what you want. Like, figure out what part of the build is going to be the most fun. Choose that. Fill in the rest with being helpful for the party. And like I said, don't try. I mean, if you prefer ASIs and you know you prefer ASIs, just be mindful that the 4-1's just going to make it take longer for you to realize the total build idea, with the Ranger being, if you want to do a Ranger subclass. But if you know you're going to do the ASI, it may not be a problem if you want to min-max early. It's just, remember, it's a new gaming group. You know, don't go gung-ho just too yet until you kind of feel them out. So just, approach it with enthusiasm but caution.
Level 2 Ranger gives you a fighting style, which I'm guessing you're going to want to choose archery, which gives you a +2 bonus to all of your archery attack rolls.
Yeah, like I said, I would stick with a 2-3 at least for the first gaming session.
It's really clean.
But yeah, that takes us to the 2-hour mark. I think that's good for today. For our first day back after a holiday weekend.
I know, I'm still full, man.
Right. But yeah, I think we're going to end it there. So everybody in chat, we really thank you. Cosmic, thank you so much for bringing this topic to us. I really hope that you got some good value out of today. I hope that we were able to give you some good ideas and help push you forward into whatever it is that the build is going to be. Please share it in the Discord. Please let us know what the official build is going to be. We'd love to see it. Yeah. Whether you build it in Avery and can actually post the details, or if you can just like post a snapshot of your character sheet when you're all done. We definitely want to know what you did. We want to know and we want to know what choices you made and why you made them too. We're definitely interested in the thought process behind the character build. So even if you go a completely different direction than what we spoke about here today, let us know. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you dislike the episode, go ahead and hit the dislike button. Just leave us a comment and let us know what we can do better. Otherwise, we really appreciate you for joining us in the future. You can check out, once again, we'll post the link in the in chat for Discord, but if you are in chat, feel free to come and join us in the Discord. You can submit items, you can submit topics for us, you can submit questions, or you can just chat with all the lovely people like Cosmic here and get some ideas for your D&D sessions. And if you're on YouTube, we are currently reading. We're still in the phase of being able to read all the comments because we're small enough. So let us know what you think. We will respond and we'll talk and chat about all of that. Otherwise, we are back to our normally scheduled programming. So Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for D&D Discussions Homebrew Review. We'll review items either offline or viewer and follower submitted items. And then Friday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we do more of a deep dive series where it's either myself or sometimes Kage will join me on Friday, and we'll just choose a specific topic and we'll kind of rant about it all day for the rest of the night. But that's us for now. I hope you guys had a great holiday weekend. I hope you guys got to see family and had a good time. And if not, I hope it wasn't too stressful. I hope you've had a great start to your week. I hope the rest of the week is great. And I will see you all on Friday.
Deuces, my friends.